Get started this evening. Welcome to our September 14th council meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. First item to deal with, of course, is to adopt the agenda. And I'm going to say it's moved by Dan, seconded by Lisa, that the agenda and the supplementary agenda for September 14th, 2020 regular meeting of council be accepted and passed. Any discussion on that? All those in favor then? That's carried. Thank you. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest tonight? I have none to disclose. Councillor Yake.
No.
Councillor Burke.
No.
Councillor McKay.
No.
And Councillor Hearn.
No.
Okay, thank you. So next up this evening is our county council update. Welcome, Councillor O'Neill. I heard you were on the phone with us earlier. If you're still with us, we'll let you have the floor and give us a little update.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for having me this evening. I'll touch on a few things happening in the county. County Road 14, the Con Road from Arthur to Gordonville, has been repaved. Guardrails and shoulders are being worked on. Completion is scheduled for the fall. The project came in under budget, so paving was extended from Side Road 9 East up to Gordonville. Police Services has authorized the purchase of 7 Black Cat radar detection devices. These units will replace the speed spies that are currently in use. The Black Cat units monitor speeds in both directions to help establish if there's a speeding issue on that particular section of road. They do not issue tickets. The data gathered from these units allows the OPP to help prioritize where more enforcement is needed. The units are about $4,000 each. Speeding is an ongoing issue throughout the county, and delegations from Ayers and Push Lynch presented their speeding concerns at the Roads Committee meeting last week. The 4 townhouse affordable housing units on King Street and Mount Forest are scheduled to be complete at the end of October. Tenants should be moving in immediately upon the completion. Ridewell has seen its number of rides increasing since ridership plummeted in March of this year due to COVID. The Guelph Owen Sound bus service has begun operation. Mount Forest to Guelph is $10, Arthur to Guelph $5. Very economical to use. It's not door-to-door like Ridewell, so it may not be suitable for all. Another topic dear to our hearts is solid waste. At our committee meeting last week, it was passed that residents can take bagged leaf and yard waste to any transfer station or the Riverston landfill for composting at no charge beginning in October. It will not be going to the landfill. It will be composted. The county will be having waste management do the leaf and yard waste pickup in urban areas throughout the county in October and November this year. Going forward in 2021, leaf and yard waste pickup will be done once a month from October through November. Leaf and yard waste must be in paper bags. If you have bagged leaf and yard waste, you can get rid of it for free in between curbside pickup dates by taking it to a transfer station or Riverston yourself. Stacks of brush set out at the curb will not be picked up. I can't emphasize this enough. Residents needing to get rid of brush piles need to transport the material to a transfer station or Riverston themselves, and there is a charge to dispose of that material. The new collection schedule started in July. Weekly pickup of the organic green bin material and blue boxes. Garbage is picked up bi-weekly in the yellow paper use bags. Rural residents have pickup on both sides of the road now, so they no longer need to take the material across the road if they happen to be on the wrong side of the pickup route. Rural residents also get weekly pickup with the new contract. Same as the urban residents, so bi-weekly garbage, weekly blue box, and green bin. The resolution that was passed at Township Council in July was noted in the Solid Waste Services info package at the county's meeting. committee meeting last week. Thanks, that's all I have right now, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay. Questions for Steve? The other Steve, I see you have your hand up already.
Hello, Councillor O'Neill. I was just wondering if you could shed a bit of light on the bridge work that's going to go on County Road 109 east of Arthur.
I was going to leave that for our roads chairman, Mayor Lennox, for his next update. Right now, I guess
Either
they're
one.
starting. What's that?
Either
I
one,
didn't want-
so that's fine.
I didn't want to take all his glory, for I'm sure he's just chomping at the bit for that. Yeah, the 4 bridges there are going to be, I guess, studied in regards to environmental right now. And yeah, I expect when that road is virtually closed for one-way traffic, I'm not sure how they'll handle it, but 4 roads in 2 or 3 kilometers, or 4 bridges in 2 or 3 kilometers is going to be quite a challenge if they do it that way. That's all I know.
That's kind of what I guess my question was I know, like you just said right now, Councillor O'Neill, that it's just primarily a environmental look or a study right now, but has there been any forethought to like the detour, or what are their plans for, like, is it going to be one-way traffic like you said, or rerouted? Maybe Andy, you can speak to this.
Yeah, I probably can. We are going to, this is an item on our agenda for later this evening as well, but there will be a number of options on the table, I think, with this. It does look at the environmental impact, but it also takes into consideration the impact on residents and businesses and how we accommodate them, whether it becomes, bridges done one lane at a time, one bridge at a time, and then we're going to have disruption over an extended period of time. Or do we look at some other options to reroute traffic? Because good detour routes around those bridges are not numerous. So there are some significant issues with that. There, even consideration may be given to rerouting the road completely. So there is a number of items on the table. We don't normally put a county environmental assessment project on our local agenda, but because of the potential impact on our community, and potentially our local roads as well, I think this is one that we probably need to be engaged in, or to certainly provide information and encourage members of the public to become engaged in this, so that we find a good solution. Those 4 bridges, all 4 of them, are in need of repair in the not too distant future. The county does have a successful grant application to do some work on one of them, but having the right approach is going to be a challenge, because as was suggested, having them down to 1 lane isn't necessarily good from a traffic management perspective, and it does add a significant additional cost. Whereas if a bridge can be closed and replaced, it's much more cost effective than just doing it one half at a time. But as you can imagine, that creates traffic challenges, and 109 is a very busy road. So nothing is decided at this point. It's an opportunity to engage with the public in the process and look at different options to deal with it.
Thanks. Yeah, regardless, I think either way, whatever assessment is made, it's going to have a huge impact on that area, and like you said, our own local roads as well. So sure to be a good mess.
Okay. Any other questions for Councillor O'Neill? Sherry, go ahead.
Thank
Sherry?
Councillor O'Neill and the Solid Waste Management Committee for the county. Yard waste and leaf collection is probably one of the #1 questions I get asked with regards to. So thank you for that. I just had one clarification question, and that was in 2021, pickup will be from April till November. Is that correct?
Yes, it is 8 months.
Okay, and no brush. And my follow-up is communication and education to the public. Will the county be looking at doing something with regards to that?
Yes, I certainly hope so. That will be the biggest thing, getting people countywide and especially in Mount Forest and Arthur used to the new way, because it is changing, as you know, with the brush.
Right. Okay, thank you very much.
Just to clarify on that as well, Steve, I think they will pick up small sticks, just not larger amounts.
Yeah, 3-foot type bundles, not the 12-foot pile.
So they're not going to take it away from a tree you cut down, but they will take it away from some branches that fell off if you can get them down to a small enough
If
size.
you get them down small enough or fit them in a bag, they'll go. But yeah, if you leave a 12-foot section, it's gonna stay.
Go ahead, Sherry.
So that's really similar to what we've asked our residents to do in the past.
It is, I think,
Most definitely. Yep.
It's more restrictive, a little bit more restrictive, but it's similar to what we've been trying to implement.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Councillor O'Neill? Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say say thank you, County Council and county staff for taking a proactive approach to the issue of yard waste and making what I think will be some positive changes moving forward here in regards to the situation. So, Steve, just again, thank you for your efforts, and thanks to county staff and council for making those changes.
Okay.
Yeah, county staff, when they got the bill for the spring cleanup, it wasn't near what they thought it might be for the billing at all treat. So it's not going to be a whole lot more money to do the extra pickups than what was originally thought. So, the 4 extra pickups are 80,000 approximately, I believe. But I guess the lack of a better word, the tipping fees are going to be in line with what they expected with only 4, even with the extra tipping fees for residents that take it right to a transfer station or the landfill. So it came in a little better than they expected. So it was easier to get more people on board.
Well, that's good news.
Any other questions for Councillor O'Neill? Okay, and I don't want to be perceived as being negative, but I just wanted to remind everybody that the Solid Waste Services Committee is recommending this to County Council, but it won't be a completed fact until County Council ratifies that at the end of the month here. So I suspect it will be ratified. I'm very strongly in that suspicion, but I think we need to be careful about not communicating it out too early. So.
We'll be very upset if it isn't.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of doubt, Steve. I just want to make sure that everybody
Yeah.
understands where we're at with the process. So again, thank you, Steve, and for your update. Dan, did you have a comment?
I was just going to say, County Council would never turn down a staff recommendation, would they?
I think we better move on. So thanks, Steve, for the update, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Good night. We'll go and watch you on the other side, on the other channel.
Okay. So after our County Council update, we have a couple of presentations this evening. Linda Dixon, I believe, is with us to give us a presentation on our new emergency management plan. Welcome, Linda, and before you get started, I know this is one of your last events before you begin your retirement, and I certainly want to, on behalf of council, want to wish you all the best in the next chapter of your life, and thank you for your service to Wellington County and to Wellington North.
Thank you very much, Mayor Lennox. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, it is my, I believe, my last official council meeting with Wellington North. Before, and on that note, thank you for that lead in. On that note, your new emergency manager for the county and the member municipalities is in attendance on the meeting tonight. Urania Melgar is your new manager, and I believe there is actually a bylaw on your agenda tonight for consideration to appoint Urania as the new emergency manager, and I think it's effective as of September 25th. So my last day, unofficial day with the county is September 30th. Last official day with holidays is October 30th. So, all right, on that note, so yes, before you, there is a report that I have submitted to council. I hope that some of council and staff had an opportunity to review the emergency response presentation. We had two virtual presentations in the summer, and then it was recorded and taped and made available for councils and for staff, control group members and program committee members to review. This new plan has been in the works for some time. I've been discussing it with your township program committee for the last couple of years anyway. In essence, what the program, what the emergency response plan is a compilation of, I would say, what we've put in as best practices, along with lessons learned from both events. And you can see in the report a number of events that we've responded to since 2010, and emergency management exercises. Every time we have a emergency response or emergency management exercise, we do what's called an after action report. And in those reports, there are usually a number of recommendations moving forward. Some are very specific to township functions and to township procedures. Some are related to the emergency response plan. So this is a compilation of all that and taking into consideration everything that we've looked at and felt would improve the plan, even though we have had a couple of amendments to the existing plan over the last few years. This has incorporated a lot of things that we've talked about. So on that note, just a couple of highlights. The declaration section is still in the plan. It was in the previous plan or in the existing plan as well. I think the big change in that section is we've added a new subsection to deal with emergency orders, which was something that is permitted under the authority of the Emergency Management Civil Protection Act for head of councils to make orders. But our first real issuance of an order was this through COVID, and with the issuance of the warden's order regarding masks in support of Dr. Mercer's Section 22 order. So that was reviewed with our solicitor, who was quite involved in the order process, and we've enhanced that just as a bit of a checklist, just to give us something to consider when we're moving forward and if we look at doing orders in the future for emergency declarations. We've updated a number of sections with respect to municipal control group roles and responsibilities. We've reviewed these sections with, and I've listed a number of them there, the fire chiefs, the treasurers, water and wastewater staff, public health, our human resources, local hydro utilities, and Guelph Wellington Paramedic Services. And I'll also add most recently our risk management official. So we've, based on conversations with them, maybe fine-tune some of their roles and responsibilities and to make it more reflective of what they would be doing during an emergency response. The treasurers, we did do a lot of bringing together the financial considerations with respect to emergencies are kind of spread out through the emergency response plan. In this plan, we brought them all together into one section that's called the financial considerations. And that section was reviewed in consultation with the treasurers. They had an opportunity to look at it and provide feedback on that section. So that is a new section that we've added. Emergency social services. Wellington North has had its share of having to establish evacuation centers or warming centers, cooling centers over the years. And this is, we've always had an emergency social services plan, but it was a separate plan. And so it was not well known by members of council. It wasn't well known by staff, even within the social services and Red Cross. So what we've done is we've taken that plan, we've reviewed it with both our social services administrator and Red Cross and brought it into the plan. And in addition, it's also public facing. So keeping in mind that once it's passed, this document is a public document and it's available for members of the public to look at and maybe understand that process a little better. Another thing in relation to leaf and yard waste and large brush, something that we've been talking about since 2003 is debris management. When we had one of the first tornado response that I dealt with, and a significant one both in Center Wellington and Mapleton, and we've had a number of ice storms and floods, which have all raised the question of how do we handle debris management. It's not a significant plan per se, but what we tried to do, again, because this is a public facing document, put a lot of information in there that we hope will help residents and council in times of ice storms or floods or other events on how to better handle debris and what the expectations are, what solid waste services at the county level, because they do have certain requirements that they have to work under with respect to the Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change, or Climate and Parks. So it's quite a process, and we did have some challenges working with them through the flood response in both Mapleton and in Mapleton back in 2017. So we're hoping that this will at least help be a document. It's about 6 or 7 pages that can be referenced, and it also speaks to the classification of debris, which is very similar to what people will do on a regular basis on what we normally type peacetime, but on any given day, the classification of debris isn't a whole lot different in an emergency response, but it's spelt out there for them as well. And I think that's it. There's just a few highlights at the end with some changes that were incorporated into the plan based on comments and consultations that we had with both council and staff members after the presentations. And I'd be happy to take any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Linda. Anybody have any questions in regard to the revised plan or other questions in general for Linda? Steve?
I was just going to say congratulations on your retirement and all the best, and thank you for your service since I've been on council, and always look forward to your updates with the emergency management planning. So thanks very much for that, Linda, and good luck.
Thank you.
Mike, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, Mayor Lennox, just with your indulgence, I thought maybe, and I apologize because this is probably putting on the spot, but wondered if Veronia wanted an opportunity just to introduce herself to council and members of council just while we had the call open.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Thanks. Sorry, this fan above me is probably distracting. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself. I'm Rania Melgar. You can ask me how to pronounce that. I know it's not easy. Yeah, so I'm coming from the city of Richmond Hill and have been in response mode there with the COVID-19. So I'm really excited to be back here in Wellington County and get to work with all of you, and I look forward to getting to know you. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much and welcome aboard. Mike.
Mayor Lennox, yeah, just from a staff perspective, I certainly wanted to thank Linda personally for all her support over the years. We've had lots of opportunities to work together in good and bad situations, and she's always been extremely knowledgeable and supportive. And I wish you, Linda, nothing but the best in your retirement, and hopefully our paths cross in social settings where I can maybe buy you a drink sometime.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, and Mike, on that note, and I thank council, but also staff, because I have received lots of emails over the last few months from all of staff, not just in Wellington North, but across the county and in the county. So thanks to everyone. And I will miss working with everyone. That's probably the one thing I think most people talk about missing. But I've been blessed to work in Wellington County. Wellington North and all the municipalities, everyone's, we always work together. It's a great team, both individually and collectively. And I think that's what has made my job so much easier in terms of the coordination and the level of cooperation amongst both member municipalities and with the county. So thank you everyone for that. And thanks for your comments. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Linda. Any other comments? Questions? And I can't resist it, Mike. I got to build on something you said, and thanks, Linda. You know, we see you the most when we have bad situations, but you help us make them better. So thanks very much, and all the best for the future. So we have a resolution coming along with that report. I'm going to see that's moved by Sherry, seconded by Steve. That the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receives the Emergency Manager's Report EM 2020-001 regarding the new emergency response plan. And further, the Council authorizes the Mayor and Clerk to sign the bylaw adopting the 2020 Emergency Response Plan for the Township of Wellington North, County of Wellington, and member municipalities. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks again, Linda.
Thank you.
See you, Linda.
Our next presentation is from Don Irvin, Operations Manager with the Ontario Clean Water Agency. Are you with us with camera tonight, Don? Yep, there you are.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I see that we're on page 13 of 321 of the docket tonight, so I'll try to make this brief. So tonight I'm going to be doing two reports, one for the wastewater treatment plant in Mount Forest and one for the wastewater treatment plant in Arthur. So just going to be talking about the annual reports through the Ministry of Environment that we submit. So all the council should have these on their computers as well. So I'm going to start with the Mount Forest wastewater treatment plant, and this is really Cole's Notes versions. I'm just going to try to make some sense of this to save you guys from having to go through 30 or 40 pages each. So like I said, we'll start with the Mount Forest wastewater treatment plant. So the annual reporting period for Mount Forest is January 1st to December 31st of 2019. So the plant began operating in November of 2008. This is a class 2 wastewater treatment plant. It uses extended air for the treatment. The design capacity is 2,818 cubic meters per day. So in the wastewater world, we basically are looking for 5 parameters that we kind of treat for. There are more than that, but the 5 main ones are CBOD, TSS, or total suspended solids, total ammonia, nitrogen, total phosphorus, and then also E. coli that we also look after. So we met and exceeded the objectives in Mount Forest for the objectives and limits. We met and exceeded all those for the annual report. Our removal rates for total suspended solids was 92.82%, which was super good. And the total phosphorus removal was 93.14%. So we also had E. coli. E. coli is measured in a different measuring tool. It's called colony formatting units, or forming units, also known as CFM. So our E. coli for last year averaged at 4.64 out of 100, which is really good. It shows that basically everything that went to the receiving stream had no E. coli in it. So last year I talked about in 2018 we treated, and again this is 2018, we had treated 744,259.60 cubic meters, and that remember I said was equivalent to 297 Olympic-sized swimming pools, if you remember that analogy. Well, last year, for 2019, we treated 714,415.30 cubic meters, which was equivalent to 285 Olympic swimming pools. So there was actually a 4% decrease in the treatment there at the Mount Forest plant. The difference was just over, it was 29,844 cubic meters. So we were actually lower. So the average annual flow was basically 69.54% of the design flow of the plant, which is again 2,818 cubic meters. We had a max peak flow, which was 6,348 cubic meters, and that was in March of 2019. And basically it was above seasonal temperatures, which resulted in rapid snowmelt as well as heavy precipitation. This represents a peak flow rate of 225.28% of the rated capacity, which it seems really high, but it operated actually within 85% of the times of its rated capacity for the year, which is really good. So 310 days of 365. There were no operating issues to speak of in 2019 that affected the quality of the effluent that went out to the receiving stream. And major maintenance activities that were done at the plant include digester blower repairs, HVAC maintenance and repairs, flow meter calibrations, the auto bar screen repair, UV unit servicing and maintenance, and a big capital project, which was the aeration tank 1 clean out and inspection. Cork Street Pump Station, we did pump 2 cleaning and repair, and also a check valve repair. And for Durham Street, we did an HMI panel, or computer panel at the pump station. North Water Street, it was fairly easy. It was just some generator batteries and a wet well clean out. For biosolids in 2019, we hauled 3,262 cubic meters. All of this went for field application, and our anticipated volume in 2020 is going to be roughly around 4,039 cubic meters. So every year, year after year, there's a steady increase in the biosolids. Work orders, the work orders that we basically have for the Mount Forest wastewater treatment plant, there's 118 work orders in the system, and 61% of those are preventative maintenance. So it just kind of goes to show you the level of service that we try to provide the town to ensure that the assets that you have there are looked after. Some of the other work orders that are there are callbacks, which were 23. There was 23 callbacks. And then there's emergency work orders or corrective work orders, or just capital work orders or operational work orders that the operator does. So a summary for Mount Forest. The Mount Forest wastewater treatment plant appears to be treating raw sewage as designed. With the plant approaching 12 years old, attention to mechanical and electrical equipment will be more in focus in the coming years. As some of the equipment will be coming to end of life, Aqua tries to foresee some of the upcoming repairs that we have experienced in other facilities and implement proactive programs to keep these assets performing like new and to reduce the cost of repairs. So that's the Mount Forest annual report. The next one you have on your list is the Arthur annual report. So Arthur's a little bit different animal in the sense that the reporting period isn't beginning of the year to the end of the year. It's split because of the way the discharge period is. So the reporting period is from May 1st, 2019 to April 30th, 2020. So next year, actually, in the new ECA that we got in September, there will be another change in the times again, just because of the new ECA and some of the requirements. So Arthur wastewater treatment plant is a class 3, and it's extended air for treatment as well. The average day flow, which was 90.71% of the design capacity. And again, the highest recorded was in March of 2020. And that was because of the precipitation and snowmelt. The peak flow for the plant. So we have the filters are rated for 6,500 cubic meters per day. We had a peak flow of 5,021 cubic meters in January of 2020. And the peak flow represented 77.25% of the flow, which is pretty high. Effluent results. So much like Mount Forest, we talk about the 5 parameters that we tried to analyze for. The CBOD, or the carbonaceous biochemical oxygen demand, it's the food for the bacteria. We met the limit on that for Arthur, but the loading we didn't, because there were some operational issues at the plant. Total suspended solids, again, we met the limit all but April of 2020, and the loadings we did not. The total phosphorus annual limit was met, and the loading limit was met. The annual limit for total ammonia nitrogen was not met, and the loading was not met. And the E. coli was a little bit high December 2019, February, and March of 2020. So the plant bacteria was wiped out numerous times, and the temperature of the water needs to be at a certain degree for the bacteria to be able to establish themselves. And out of all the bacteria that we have at the plant, only 1 to 2% of the bacteria represents the nitrifying bacteria that gets rid of the ammonia. So that was some of the troubles that we were having last year. Effluent discharge, we actually sent a total of 605,191 cubic meters, or 242 Olympic-sized swimming pools, out to the river, which was really good news for Arthur. Average flow was 1,661.87 cubic meters per day, which is a little higher than the average day rated that the plant is actually rated for. And the peak flow, the highest flow that we had at the plant, occurred in March, was 5,799.20 cubic meters. So there's still a little bit of wiggle room there for the filters. Preventative maintenance. For preventative maintenance for the Arthur wastewater treatment plant, some of the things that we did there was annual sewage pump station cleanout, annual generator service inspection and load testing, annual calibrations of the flow meters. There's only 3 flow meters there currently. UV inspection and servicing, and alum tank cleanout, alum tank and lagoon chamber cleanout, which were important. For biosolids in Arthur go between Listec up in Dundalk in the wintertime when there's no field application, and when there is field application, obviously we send it to field because it is cheaper. So last reporting period, we sent 2,375 cubic meters out the door. Work orders, again, for work orders, we have preventative maintenance. We have 101 work orders for the facility. We have 76 preventative maintenance, which is 75% of the work orders that are produced. The other ones are operational or callbacks, emergency ones. There was one complaint on August the 12th, 2019 regarding odors around the plant. After some further investigation, it was determined that all treat farms, or the chicken barn beside all treat farms, were actually the culprit of the odors and not the wastewater treatment plant. So that was closed out. Overflow events, we had 2 overflow events in Arthur. Both of them were at Frederick Street Pump Station. One was on January 13th of 2020, and one was on March 12th of 2020. And both were reported to the MECP as per requirements. I'm happy to say that I was there during the commissioning of the new Frederick Street Pump Station, and we're hoping we don't have any of those to report moving forward. There should be lots of capacity there. So basically, in summary, the Arthur wastewater treatment plant had its challenges in the last reporting period. The construction of the plant, along with the new Frederick Street Pump Station, should ease any concerns for overflow events. And the town and Aqua have engaged in identifying sources in the collection system that have contributed to high loadings to the plant. I think that's all I have. Welcome for any questions.
Thanks, Don. Any questions from council? Okay, not seeing too many. Don't think I have any. I think you addressed it. One of the questions I had, Don, was, you know, with the new upgrades in Arthur coming on stream, would that help us deal with some of these slight non-conformances? And I think you already indicated you thought it would, so that's good news.
Yeah.
And if there's no other questions, we have a resolution. Did you have a question, Steve?
No, I did not.
Okay, I just saw a hand in the corner of my eye. So, Matt, would you like to comment?
Matt does.
Yep. Yeah, just through you, Mayor Lennox, I would just say thanks to Don and his team as it relates to the treatment facilities. Lots of work going on there, and appreciate the update. And yeah, would be remiss not to say thanks.
Thank you, Matt.
Absolutely. So we have a recommendation here moved by Lisa, seconded by Dan, that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive the Ontario Clean Water Agency annual reports for the Mount Forest wastewater treatment system for the period January 1st, 2019 to December 31st, 2019, and the Arthur wastewater treatment plant for the period May 1st, 2019 to April 30th, 2020. Any final questions or comments? All those in favor? That's carried. And again, thanks, Don, for that report.
Yes, thank you. Have a good night.
Okay. That brings us to our adoption of minutes of the council meeting, previous council meeting. So I have a motion here moved by Steve, seconded by Sherry, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on August 24th, 2020 be adopted as circulated. Any questions or comments on those minutes? Okay, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. I don't think we have any specific business arising from previous meetings of council tonight. Council open forum, still working on trying to come up with a topic there, so we'll put that off till our next meeting. But we'll move right to our items for consideration. So now's our opportunity to pull out those items for further discussion this evening. I think we've got quite a fair bit of information and good stuff to talk about. So open it up to anyone to identify those things they'd like to talk about tonight. Steve?
I wouldn't mind 2A, 4B, 6A, and 8B. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Any others? Councillor Burke?
3B.
3B. Okay. Just do a quick recap here. We have so far 2A, 3B, 4B, 6A, and 8B. Anybody have any others? I'm going to suggest 7A as well, the council meeting schedule changes. Last call for any others? I'll recap one more time. So we have 2A, 3B, 4B, 5A, 7A, and 8B.
Mayor Lennox, I think it was 6A, not 5A.
Okay,
Sorry.
maybe that was just me reading it wrong. It was just me reading it wrong. 6A, sorry about that. Thanks, Mike. Okay, if everybody's happy with that, we'll deal with all the others. So a recommendation here moved by Dan, seconded by Lisa, that all items listed under items for consideration on the September 14th, 2020 council agenda, with the exception of those items identified for separate discussion, be approved and the recommendations therein be adopted. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So that brings us back to 2A. This is the development updates. So I'm going to suggest that's moved by Sherry, seconded by Steve, and I'll read the recommendation. That the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive report DC 2020-023, being report on development updates in the Township of Wellington North. And with that, I'll open the floor for discussion. Go ahead, Steve.
I just wanted to bring this forward. I think there's a lot of good news in this update. I know Don just kind of briefly talked about both the Mount Forest and the Arthur wastewater treatment plants, but I think there's a lot more in this, and growth of our both of our communities is imminent, and it's looks like it's going to be really on par and on schedule. It appears as well. And I think, Mike, if you have more to add to the development, I'd pass it over to you.
Sure, Councilor McCabe, appreciate that. Through you, Mayor Lennox. Yeah, I think acknowledging the report and the work that went into it, first of all, is priority for me. There's a lot of information that Tammy, our development clerk, has been able to compile in a pretty understandable, and it basically starts from our community growth plan and brings us up to a snapshot in terms of where we are right now and where we intend to be, I guess, from a growth standpoint, right out till 2041. So it's there's a lot of interesting things happening as it relates to applications and reviews and development proposals coming forward. And unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball in terms of what the timing will be around all of them. But when you look at the numbers associated with the development, it's a little overwhelming, I think, to a certain degree, but it certainly is in good stead in that the investment specifically in the Arthur wastewater treatment plant, the historical investment in the Mount Forest wastewater treatment plant in terms of creating capacity for growth around the wastewater aspect anyways, is money that's been well invested as we're in a position to address the growth potential. We'll have some master plans coming forward to council in the next few months that kind of address how to service additionally as it relates to water and wastewater, the actual on the ground roads as well that we'll need to give consideration to. So lots of planning and thoughts that's happening in the background with staff around how we're going to address the development needs that we really see coming. And kudos to Darren and Tammy as it relates to the report. I think the county provided some support around some of this as well. Certainly I'd invite Darren if he has any additional comments around the report itself and the format. And yeah, we're looking for some feedback if council has some as it relates to the report and the details that are included in it, but it's pretty comprehensive in my viewpoint and offers a lot of really good information. The one suggestion that I would make is that we share this report with our chambers of commerce, our BIAs, as well as the participants, our business participants who are part of the Mayor's Roundtable. A lot of questions we get from all of those groups were about, is there growth potential? A lot of our employers specifically are struggling to find employees, and I think showing them the potential that exists as it relates to residential development specifically in Wellington North is a really good news story for them. So that would be one suggestion or comment around the report itself.
Okay. Yes, Steve, I'll just maybe let Darren add a few comments and then get back to you. Darren, do you have something you'd like to add, or did Mike steal all your thunder?
No, he left a little bit for me. So yeah, this report's going to be very useful going forward. It'll be kind of our baseline for where we're going and kind of the final numbers. So yeah, we'll definitely be using this across the departments internally, and it definitely highlights some of the work that's gone on behind the scenes. So thanks to Tammy for that. And that's all that I have on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Darren. Stay tuned. There may be questions too. So, other questions, comments from council? Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree with what you had said, Mike. Thank you very much for the your work and work your plan, and I think that's fairly a suitable saying for this plan for sure. But I also think it proves that with our master plan that we are investing in our community, but also our business community as well, and showing them, our employers in this township, that yes, we want to bring people here for them, and there's work here for them, and we're open for business, and we're starting to grow.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Anybody else want to weigh in? Okay, I think I have a couple of comments I would like to just highlight. One is it's a rather daunting amount of activity that's anticipated through this, the development proposals that are currently on the books, and they do make up a substantial chunk of our forecasted growth. But I would also comment that, you know, before we get to breaking ground and building new houses, there's a lot of time and effort of our staff and of those people with those development proposals. They've invested a lot of time and money into getting even as far as we are today with them. And I think this sends a really strong signal that people see our communities as places that are worth investing in. And I think that's a really positive thing. I think, you know, the teamwork has helped us develop that reputation as a community that's worth investing in. And I think we should all be proud of that. But I think we also have to recognize that if the private sector is looking to invest in our community, then we need to be willing to invest in our community too, and to make this go forward as we go. I mean, we're undertaking currently the wastewater treatment expansion in Arthur, but we know that there's other infrastructure that we're going to need going forward, whether it be in roads, things like water towers, even recreational amenities. So we're going to have to look at across the board. So I think, well, this is a great news story. It does mean that we've got more work ahead of us. So I think as a council and staff, it's kind of an exciting time, but it's not necessarily straightforward and easy. We're going to have to work through these challenges one step at a time, and I think it's a great story to share with our business community as well. One of the things I see when I see the number of applications here is, you know, there may be some pushback in terms of our sewage allocation policy, and that we've said clearly we want to have some, you know, orderly growth that's not explosive. But just judging by the number of applications, I suspect there will be some concern raised by those making those investments that they want to get going sooner rather than later. So I still support the process we're taking, but I think we may hear something back about it as the days go by. Yeah, I think that pretty well sums up my comments, but Again, if anybody has anything else they'd like to add, now is a great time. And again, thanks to Darren and Tammy for putting this report together. We know that we've been working on this for a while. It's been part of our growth plan, and we've seen some things happening, but when you see it all laid out together, it paints quite a different picture. Any other questions or comments? Okay, with that said, I already got a mover and a seconder, didn't I, Karen?
Yes.
Okay. So then I guess all I need to do is call for the vote. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks. Next up, we are on to 3B. This is the report regarding post-subdivision approval of drainage inspection policy. And I'm going to suggest that that's moved by Lisa, seconded by Dan. The Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North received report CBO 2020-11, being a report on the post-subdivision approval drainage inspection policy. And further, the council adopt policy number 006-20, being a post-subdivision approval drainage inspection policy. And I'll open the floor for discussion. Sherry, go ahead.
So I pulled this just more of as an information piece, just because it says that significant time from staff is being used to deal with these kinds of situations. So I thought it was important that our residents are aware of this policy change. I guess not really a change, but more putting it in writing, if you will, and just wanted to ask Darren if he could maybe sort of go over his report and maybe talk a little bit more about the final grading certificate portion of it, if you would.
Yep, no problem. So this report or this policy only will apply to draft plan of subdivision. So process-wise, when a builder builds their house, in order to get their building permit, they're required to provide a lot grading plan that matches the overall subdivision plans. And once the home is built, before they're permitted an occupancy permit, they are to provide an as-built lot grading plan and a lot grading certificate from either an engineer or from a Ontario land surveyor. And that certifies that the lot's graded and drains the way that it was designed to be. Now we've left a 1 year after we receive that we'll go and do inspections, and that'll come up with, it should deal with if there's any issues that arise due to construction or construction of other lots.
Okay. Any further questions, Sherry?
Yeah, so what would be the process should that not happen? Like if or it gets changed, it's changed.
So if the grading gets changed, is that?
Yes.
Yeah. So if it's major, if it's very major, then the township has rights to go through the subdivision agreement and take action and cause work to be done and apply those bills back to the homeowner. But for minor changes and things like that, it's each homeowner's responsibility. And there's covenants registered on title that give neighboring property owners the legal right to, through the courts, enforce the grading for their subdivision.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Other questions? Dan, go ahead.
So Darren, how do we deal with the issues that come to us as counselors directly? Because you know that over the years we've had a number of residents or call counselors to talk about, or, you know, complain about drainage issues and so on. So how do we deal with that, or how should we deal with it, I guess, moving forward in regards to this report?
Feel free to direct them to me, and I can walk them through the policy, and then it lies with me and other staff to determine whether it's a major deficiency, and then we can advise them on the routes that they can take, their options, and hopefully that will alleviate some of the calls to council.
Dan, go ahead.
I don't know if it'll alleviate the calls, but it hopefully this will provide some clarity to people. But when people call, they expect an answer almost right away from counselors in regards to, you know, this is wrong, this is not right, you know, how is this going to be dealt with? So I think this report moving forward will help that. But as long as you're comfortable that we just, ultimately just say contact the building department in regards to this issue, then I guess that's what we'll do moving forward.
If staff or if councils feels comfortable, they can definitely circulate this policy to the residents. But absolutely, at the building department, we can handle these.
Karen?
Just as a further analogy, when people would call complaining about drainage, it was like, well, I'm one member of council. Council has to make a decision as a whole, bring it to council. Now you can say there's this policy that council approved, and that's what we have to follow now, and then send them off to Darren.
Okay. Mike?
I'll maybe just speak a little bit, recognizing that, as Councillor Yake has indicated, we've had a number of, and we anticipate a number more of drainage issues. These issues do not go away, and they're not just exclusive to one area within our municipality. We have issues in the rural setting as well as it relates to drainage. The policy just provides a little bit more clarity for all the parties involved, including council and staff, as it relates to what the provisions are, what the actual steps are. In a lot of instances, there aren't things that we can physically do, meaning township staff, we can't physically make changes, but we're aware that, that there are egregious items that happen that have a huge impact on neighbors and drainage, and we will be able to address them more simply based on the policy. But there are, this is not the magic solution to drainage. Drainage is a major challenge that everybody has been impacted by on council and on staff, but it does provide some clarity in terms of process for everybody involved.
Okay. Dan, did you have something further?
No.
Okay. Anybody else have questions, comments? Darren, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd maybe like to just expand on what Mike had to say. Yeah, the drainage complaints definitely aren't going to go away, but hopefully this helps staff, whether it's me or anybody else on staff, give a more clear and consistent answer to members of the public.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? So I'm very supportive of the policy. I do have a couple of concerns I'd just like to talk about a little bit too. I like to think that I'm fairly up to speed on drainage and how drainage things work and what the legalities around drainage are. But I think there's lots of people, myself possibly included, that may not understand the process that well. I mean, I know that when we create a plan of subdivision, there's drainage requirements that are registered on title, and I'm not sure that every homeowner, when they're signing their purchase documents, recognizes what that means when they're signing on to those covenants at the time of the purchase of that new home in in that subdivision that has been planned and has those drainage certificates. So that's one piece of the puzzle. The other piece of the puzzle is we have many properties that were not created with a plan of subdivision, were created prior to that or prior to those requirements. So this doesn't necessarily apply to them. And that's probably a greater number of properties than the ones that do have a plan of subdivision. And I understand residents come to us, they don't know who to turn to in with these things. And to Dan's comment, we're going to continue to get those calls because I think people don't know how to deal with this issue. And I'm not sure that even us as counselors, we're that well versed in it either. So I'm wondering, can we also, and maybe staff already have this in place, but a sort of an education package or a way of sending, explaining to those callers who have legitimate concerns what the processes they have at their disposal are, rather than looking to us to solve it all, because we don't have the legal authority to solve it all. We need to be able to direct them. So I don't know whether there's any steps we could take further. And I mean, I'd be happy to sit through a brief education session to lay it out for me, and maybe other members of council would as well. But I think if we could, put together kind of a process that residents could be dealing with and help educate them, I think that would be beneficial as well. And I don't know whether we have anything in place yet. Maybe you can comment on that, Darren or Mike, or what your thoughts are about that.
As far as an education piece, we don't have anything in place. With each drainage complaint, there's each one is a little bit different. Staff can talk offline, and we can come back and see what our options are.
Yeah, because I think that, I guess my thinking is that those people, those residents who are dealing, and most often it's residents, not businesses quite so much, they really are unprepared to deal with this. How do we help them be prepared to deal with it? I guess is because I think they're going to look to us to solve the problem, or at least help direct them to what resources they could use to solve their own problem.
Right. So through this policy, we can give them the advice or the right questions to ask when they're seeking legal advice or seeking advice from a land surveyor. We're able to provide them with their copy of their log grading certificate and drainage plan for the subdivision, if that helps.
Okay. Dan, I saw you had your hand up.
Well, I think what you're saying, Mayor Lennox, is that we really all need to be on the same page, right? We can't all take a call in regards to a drainage issue, because usually that person or whoever it may call all of us, right? And we all need to be telling the same story about, this is the policy, this is who to contact, and not kind of waver from that. Like, it only takes one comment by one of us to kind of throw that whole issue into a bit of chaos. So I think we just all need to be on the same page, and we all need to know exactly what this policy means and how it's to be presented, and so that we can all understand it.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Dan. I guess I was just taking it a step further in that there's lots of situations that this policy won't cover, and how do we deal with those?
Right.
So, Mike?
So, yeah, good comments, I think, around the overall challenge around drainage piece. I think from a staff perspective, we can maybe have some discussions internally about, what an education piece looks like. And yeah, maybe it's, starts with council, and then we, make it into something that perhaps that we can be shared with the residents as well. I would comment that, yeah, we did or Darren specifically worked with our legal in terms of the policy itself to make sure that the parameters, the legalities were in place as it relates to applying to taxes, all of those things, because yeah, we certainly don't want to steer anyone the wrong way as it relates to process internally. But you're right, Mayor Lennox, this addresses plan of subdivision and the lots that are created in that form. And the second and third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth owners of properties typically aren't that aware of the plan of subdivision that existed when the lot was first created. So it is an education for everyone around that, hey, yeah, there was a plan of subdivision, there was grading, there was a grading plan, all those things were in place. And some people aren't aware of that when they purchase the house, the fifth owner of a particular property. So this will help with that, I think, but there are other circumstances that it won't necessarily address. So we'll need to give maybe some thought in terms of how we can, share so the message is consistent, as Councillor Yake has indicated.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this? Okay. Call the motion then. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Now we're on to 4B. And I'm going to suggest this recommendation is moved by Steve, seconded by Sherry. The Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive for information report EBO 2020-21, being an update on the Wellington North Shop local program and specifically the Sidewalk Saturday celebrations. Open the floor for discussion. Steve, go ahead.
I just want to really highlight all the work that the EDO team did on this, I guess, these events. Even though the second Saturday in Arthur was a little dismal with some rain, there was great participation all 4 weekends, and just another way I think that we can show that we can work with the community businesses and help them reopen under stresses from COVID-19, and that we're here to help and support them going forward. And the community came out in droves and improved our points. So I just wanted to say thanks to Dale and everyone on the team there.
Thanks, Steve. Lisa?
Yeah, I do agree with Councillor McCabe. I believe, Dale, you deserve a medal for this. I mean, to stick that out 4 weeks in a row, through thick and through thin, was a lot of work for you. In my discussions with both chambers, everyone was very appreciative. Business was very good. Some of the best business that they've had all year. I do want to acknowledge, though, Dale did cover in his report some of the people that contributed to this, and there were a lot more than are just on Dale's list. I mean, and I can't mention them all, but even Mitch Kerstad did a flyer that went out on behalf of the BIA. There were, all the businesses were very, very supportive and deserve a lot of credit for helping to make this work.
Thanks, Lisa. Dale, I see your camera on. Would you like to comment?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Lennox, and thank you for pulling the report. Yeah, there was it was a large team, so this isn't just all on me. There was a large team of people, and I did try to recognize some of them in the report, including council, because you guys went out there. It's not easy to close down a provincial highway for 4 Saturdays in August. So thank you for your support, not only in approving that recommendation, but also in participating in the 4 days. I think we're going to take some good pressure next year to do it again. So I think that was another reason why I wanted to do this kind of recap report. I think we learned a lot from it, and I think there will be those who will want to see us try to do it again. So we would do some things differently, but we'll look at that next year. But it was a really great event, and the ability for the community to come out and reconnect can't be underestimated either in terms of the value of what these 4 days did, not only for the business community, but I think just the community as a whole. So thanks to everyone.
Okay, thanks, Dale. Any other questions or comments? Okay, I would just add a couple of quick comments. One, I think, as has already been highlighted, this wasn't a lone effort on anybody's part, but a collaboration. And I think, you know, good things happen when we collaborate with other partners, and this is just an example of that. I know that there was initially some feedback from the community that they thought that this was a huge inconvenience, having to have the main street and provincial highway closed in each community. But I think to me that small price to pay is overshadowed by the community building aspect of this, as well as supporting our local businesses. You know, the people that run our local businesses also tend to be you know, members of our community that live and work and own those businesses in our community. And I think it's great to support them as much as we possibly can, and to have that opportunity to connect with community members, because this has been a challenging time for us to do that. I was also struck by, you know, how many people at least spoke to me about, you know, they appreciated the walkability of being able to walk down the street and enjoy these things. It just underscores to me that, you know, while we need to facilitate traffic movement, we also need to make our communities a place where people want to be and to hang out together and walk and use their bicycles and those types of things. So certainly, I think I would be supportive of trying to do something in the future if there continues to be partners that want to pursue that. So thanks, Dale, for the spearheading that and working with the other partners. Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, Mayor Lennox, I just wondered if anybody could spot what was wrong with the picture on page 160 of the report.
Were you throwing a red herring in, Dale? Go ahead, Lisa.
I don't want to comment on it, but I spotted it.
We on the last Saturday in Arthur, we had the pleasure of a really big transport grain truck deciding that they needed to go around the barriers and drive down Main Street around 11 o'clock in the afternoon. And I wouldn't want to embarrass the company that it was, but it was a local company, and it was the owner of the company driving the truck. It was unbelievable. He was very sheepish on the Monday when I called him out, and he tried to rationalize why he did what he did, but there was no rationalization for what he did. So anyway, at the end of the street there, you'll see the Shill Grains truck at the end of the road.
They weren't making the delivery for the farmers market there?
Oh, did I say Shill Grains?
Jeez. Thanks for that, Dale.
Twice now, Dale, yes.
Twice? Okay, sorry. No, he was making a delivery to Con.
Okay.
Anyway, that's on me.
Thanks, Dale.
Thanks. I'll probably get a call for that from Mr. Schill. Thanks.
Well, he deserves to apologize to the community, to be quite honest with you. So if he does call, you could ask for that.
Any other questions or comments on that report? Okay, all those in favor?
No.
That's carried. Thank you. That brings us to 7A. Oh, sorry, 6A. I'm having trouble with that one today. And so that I'm going to suggest that this report is moved by Dan, seconded by Lisa. The Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North received report PW 2020-026, being a report on the Township speed limit bylaw. And further, the Council directs staff to take the necessary actions to reduce the speed limit on Side Road 3 West from Sally Street to Wellington Road 6 from 80 kilometers per hour to 60 kilometers per hour speed limit. And further, the council authorized the mayor and clerk to sign a bylaw to amend bylaw number 60-15 to reduce the speed limit on Side Road 3 West from Sally Street to Wellington Road 6 from 80 kilometers an hour to 60 kilometers an hour. Open the floor for discussion. Steve, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, with regards to this report, has the, it says, blah, 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 OPP has been talked to or consulted. Have we heard anything from the OPP about whether they're going to increase toll on it, or? I'm not, yeah, go ahead, Mike or Matt. I'm not sure who best to answer this.
So through you, Mayor Lennox, typically when we have complaints of this nature as it relates to speed, the first thing we typically do is reach out to the OPP and ask for some support as it relates to patrolling in the area, which they're always very accommodating to do. So I would suggest that, yeah, the first step is typically for them to acknowledge or to, you know, spend some time in the area to confirm or deny whether or not they would envision an issue as it relates to speed. So they're always very accommodating when we make requests. If we get complaints of this nature around a stretch of road, they typically will, yeah, work with us to try and acknowledge whether or not there is a real speed issue. Just while I have the floor, one comment I would make is, yeah, this stretch of road, most of you, I know you're all familiar with it. There is some residential there. There's a hill there. There's lots of reasons this makes sense. It's also a road that we've invested in terms of rehabilitating and putting new pavement on. And we found this out through years, and I'm sure all of council has too. And you make a roadway better, the speeds on the road tend to climb up. So there's not to say we're not going to continue to rehabilitate our roads, because we think we need to do that, but it is one of those things that we always, from a staff perspective, it's almost uncanny that when you invest in a roadway that has been probably under service for a while, you typically get speed complaints shortly thereafter.
Thanks, Mike. Steve, go ahead.
So we can put signs up, or when are you anticipating putting signs up? Or I haven't been by there lately. Are the signs already up that show like a reduction in speed?
Go ahead, Matt.
Through you, Mayor Lennox. The idea would be to bring a bylaw to a subsequent council meeting to change the speed, and then the signs would go up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Dan, go ahead.
I know this won't be a popular comment, but have we looked at the idea of digital speed signs rather than just the old signs that we use now? I mean, they seem to be very effective, you know, in places like in smaller towns. They're going up everywhere. So I'm just wondering if this would be an opportunity to look at that type of signage.
Matt, did you want to comment on that?
Yep, through you, Mayor Lennox. Like the sign that's on, say, Durham Street West, which is kind of it's a solar powered digital sign. You're talking $3,000, where an old fashioned speed limit sign is, I don't know, $100 each. And police can't do enforcement based on those digital signs. So we have looked at the digital signs, and I guess my take is that in urban settings, the digital signs as an awareness piece are good, but what we're proposing here certainly is just you know, an old-fashioned speed limit change that the OPP could enforce.
Mike?
But through you, Mayor Lennox, but to Councillor Yake's comment, we have purchased an additional digital sign that we have been moving around the urban communities in both Arthur and Mountain Forest. So yeah, I agree with you that there is value in them, and we've had conversations with the OPP in terms of whether or not they think there is value in them as well. So we're kind of, working on a mix, I guess I would suggest, Councillor Yake.
Okay. Other questions, comments? So just to follow up on Dan's comment, I mean, we do have those portable digital signs that we're using to help draw attention to speed in those troublesome areas potentially. Is that something we could use when we do change the speed limit to help draw attention to the change there in that community as well? Or are they only suitable for the urban environment? Matt, do you want to tackle that one?
Yep, through you, Mayor Lennox. I would say like our portable trailer is a really good option for, reinforcing the new speed limit. Yeah, we've had some vandalism of our trailer recently, but we could use it to promote the new speed limit. That would be a good option because it will be a change to try to create awareness for it.
Okay. Okay, and I just wanted to make a couple of little further comments. I think Councillor O'Neill referred to it in his report this evening that traffic concerns and speed concerns are a topic of frequent discussion across not only Wellington North, but across the entire county. It was also an item for discussion at the recent Police Services Board meeting, where there's a recognition that traffic complaints seem to be on the rise, and they're looking for ways to try to respond to those. Just at our most recent roads committee at the county, we had 2 delegations dealing with the traffic concerns and lots more inquiries in the works. I think that this change that we're looking to move forward with here locally is one of the first opportunities that staff have had to channel a resident concern through a process to evaluate the the appropriateness of the requested change. And through the discussions at Police Services and Roads Committee, that's not a policy or a process that's in place in many places apparently. So I think we're in pretty good shape in that we have instituted this process. It looks like the process is working, and we're able to address some of these concerns, and also gives us tools to continue to address concerns as they come in. Now, you also heard that the Police Services Board approved the purchase of some new devices to help monitor speed, to find out what's actually happening out there. So as these complaints come in, we are able to get some facts for us to make decisions based on, which I think is really valuable in terms of trying to have a reasonable policy across our entire community to start doing it as much as we possibly can based on facts. So I know that when the police get these new devices, there will be an improvement over what they currently have. And I know that there's enough interest in other municipalities that some of them were even wondering about whether they could purchase one for their own municipality as well. But I think at this stage, I'd like to continue to work with the OPP in their use of these new pieces of equipment, because I think we've identified and we hear from residents all the time about traffic concerns and speed concerns. So this is, I think this is a great opportunity to continue to use the process we've put in place and try to do the right thing across the board for addressing these concerns. And there may be other tools that we need to look at, such as Councillor Yates' suggestion of more electronic type signs as well. So this is some part of my comments at the County Roads Committee. This is not something that's going away. We're learning how to try to deal with it in the most consistent way possible, and other local municipalities may be knocking on our door asking for what we're doing, because I did indicate that we do have a procedure in place that we're working with. So thanks this one certainly seems to be demonstrate how the process is functioning and looks like it's functioning well. So thanks again for that. Any final comments or questions? Okay, call the motion and all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Now we're on to 7A. This is in regard to the council meeting schedule change. And I'm going to say that's moved by Sherry, seconded by Steve, that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North received for information report CLK 2020-17 being a report on amended council meeting schedule for 2020 and setting council meeting dates and times for 2021. And further, that council adopts the amended council meeting schedule for 2020 meeting schedule. And further, the council adopts council meeting schedule for 2021. Open the floor for questions or comments. Guess I'm the one that asked for this. Go ahead, Sherry.
So for the schedule for 2021, if we are continuing to use the platform that we're using now, is the intent that we would have the afternoon meetings, or could we go back to having them in the evening as we have been?
Anybody want to tackle that one, Mike?
Yeah, Councillor Burke, through you, Mayor Lennox. The intent from a staff perspective, even if we're continuing with this platform, would still be to return to the one-day meeting, one evening meeting. From a staffing perspective, it's a little more beneficial and easier to manage than having all of the evening meetings when you're recapturing time, having staff attend meetings in the evening, things of that nature. So that was the intent, is to return to our regular schedule, one day and one evening meeting.
Okay. Any other? Go ahead, Sherry.
I have a follow-up. So my understanding when we moved to afternoon meetings was to accommodate folks that may wish to attend meetings, or also those people that would be coming in as delegations or other groups such as planners, etc. So, I mean, if we can, we've been having really good success, from my opinion, that all of council has been able to attend most of the meetings in the evening. That if there was an opportunity, and we're still doing Zoom, that we look at having them still at 7 p.m. all meetings. But that's just my opinion.
Any other questions, comments? Lisa, go ahead.
I do have a comment with regards to that. I'm really having trouble following the meeting tonight. And one thing I do notice with my rural internet, if we're going to continue with Zoom, it works considerably better during the day. And once everybody gets on in the evening, it's just bogging down to nothing. It actually would be easier for me in the afternoon. And I'm just putting that out there. I don't know whether that matters at all, but I'm just pointing that out.
Okay. Adam, I see you got your camera turned on.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Lennox. Just as an additional point of clarification as it pertains to the 2020 schedule amendments, currently the 2021 budget schedule currently has council meetings listed for November 2nd, 16th, and 30th. So with the proposed changes, these will have to be adjusted to October 22nd, November 9th, and 23rd to facilitate the budget passage prior to December. From a staff perspective, we still feel that we are on task to perform that, but just more of an informational piece for council's consideration.
So just I'd just like to clarify your comments there, Adam, if I may. So it sounds like you feel staff can meet that accelerated timeline that's caused by this change in meeting dates. Is that, I mean, I don't think we want to put staff under undue pressure. I mean, everybody's dealing with the uncertainty of the COVID reality and so on. Should we be asking members of council if they're more flexible to delay it a week? Would that be more desirable from a budget process perspective?
I think from a staff perspective, Mayor Lennox, that we are on task. The changes being considered are within a week of one another, so I don't think it puts any undue pressure on staff. I still think we're very much up to the task.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? I just had a question, Karen, and I'm going to direct it at you. I wasn't entirely clear why these dates, like, I mean, I understand some of them, why they had to be changed, but I just wasn't clear why we were changing these dates at this point in the schedule. Can you just refresh my memory, please?
So I did a report when COVID came in, and we amended some of the council dates and times in that report. And I don't know if I had COVID brain or what, but when I got looking at our, end run of council meetings, I saw we had 3 in November and only 1 in October. And that was my, that's the way I set that schedule up. So that was an error on my part.
Thank you. It's just, yeah, either I didn't read it right or, but thanks for the clarification. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so then I'll call the motion then. All those in favor? Those opposed? That's carried. Thank you. That brings us to 8B. And that's just in regard to the Wellington Road 109 Schedule C Municipal Class Environmental Assessment. I'm going to suggest that's moved by Steve, seconded by Sherry, that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North receive the County of Wellington Notice of Study Commencement, Wellington Road 109 bridges from Highway 6 to Side Road 7, Township of Wellington North, Schedule C Municipal Class Environmental Assessment. Open the floor for further discussion on that. We kind of already tackled it earlier, but let's go at it again. Steve, go ahead.
I guess my thing, and I guess aside from Steve being gone and Campbell in attendance, you're the only county councillor here. What kind of timeline is going to be on this after they do the study and then see what bridges they're going to tackle, see how they're going to tackle the bridges? And then I guess the biggest question is, I know I've heard some chat about almost like a temporary road being built all the way around. Maybe you can shed some light on that first, Mayor.
Okay. I don't.
Sorry, I'm just getting a lot of questions because it's in Ward 4 and on both sides of County Road 109. So there's been a lot of, especially farmers in my ward as well, asking like, how do they get to their fields if they can't go in between fence rows? That kind of question. Thank you.
And I think I don't want to, presuppose what the outcome of this study is. The reason they're undertaking this study is because they recognize that all 4 of these bridges are in need of rehabilitation. They are close together. There's a significant cost attached to rehabilitating them, and there isn't really good detour options available. All of those things are weighing into why they're even going about this, looking at all 4 bridges at once. Normally you would do a class environmental assessment on 1 bridge at a time. And I know that the county has, and I forget which bridge it is, but has a commitment from other levels of government to help fund the replacement of at least 1 of those bridges. So when they started looking more detail of planning how to do that, they looked at the condition of the other 3 bridges. The recognition was that, hey, this isn't just 1 bridge. We got to figure out how we're going to deal with this with others. So I think right now, as the process begins, all options are on the table to some extent. And I would encourage all of those residents who are concerned to engage, if they can, in the consultation process, because those concerns need to be aired out and solutions sought. Whether, what that's going to look like, whether it means we're doing one lane and one bridge at a time, and we're going to do a bridge a year, or we're going to do a temporary road as you suggested, Councillor McCabe, or there's numerous possibilities available, and I think we need to find out what not only the environmental side of it, but the cost side of it, and the trying to create as little disruption as we possibly can, but recognizing that's an important artery and we need those bridges to be functioning, not closed. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
I had, once this came out, I had chatted to the construction manager, Joe, and I wasn't really sure if I got the great answer. But before these were downloaded from the province to the county, do you not remember the bridges getting redone? Like, it's got to be like probably 15 or 20 years ago. And they had,
honestly, I don't remember that, Steve, but I think they have gone through at least one rehabilitation cycle, and I think they're at the stage where rehabilitation is really not a viable option at this point. It's more, how do we replace them?
Right. Okay. Maybe that's just what it was, because I can remember driving around some of the bridges, like I say, years ago, while they were redoing it. But maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was just rejuvenation. And I mean, you can only do so many facelifts before you have to replace the whole structure.
Yeah, and just to give you an example of some of the challenges, as I'm sure you're aware, between the first two bridges, there's two residents.
Yeah.
That have no other way to get to their properties except across those bridges from either end. That's just one example of the challenges associated with rehabilitating these bridges.
Yeah, and I mean, the traffic on there already on any given weekend, or even heavier on long weekends, is just going to be wild. But yeah, understandably that they have to get fixed and I guess ultimately replaced. But yeah, I'm hoping that the public comes out and really engages in this to get a community solution, not just one that's kind of rammed down our throats.
Well, and if we're talking about detour routes, it's going to involve Wellington North roads. So what does that look like? Even one of the easiest routes would be to go north on County Road 16. If you're traveling east to Line 2, cross Line 2 to County Road 14 back into Arthur. Well, that's going to create a lot of traffic on Line 2. It's going to create a lot of traffic through the village of Arthur that doesn't normally travel through the main core of the village.
Oh, for sure. So
this could potentially affect a lot of people, and I hope that people do get engaged in this process, and I think we as council and staff should try to be engaged in this process as well, because it's going to affect our residents in a major league sort of way.
Might have to open Wells Street up quicker than we thought.
Yeah, and I mean, just look at the rehabilitation works that have been done on the bridges in Mount Forest and the main street in Mount Forest, and how we've had to reroute traffic and the disruption that's caused. I mean, and those are in many ways better detour routes than the possibilities that we have around 109. So
yeah, there's not many, that's for sure. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this is, well, it's not on our docket directly. I think this does directly affect many of our residents. I don't know whether I've answered your question or not, Steve, but I guess my takeaway message is let's get involved in this and try to get the best solution for Wellington North residents.
Well, that was kind of my reasoning to get this out and just get some good information out there, or at least the start of good information, so that our residents do know what's going on and how it is going to affect them. Because I agree with you, it's really going to affect the community and residents and farms and obviously traffic going through and supporting our businesses as they go through town. So, thanks for that, though.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on that one? Okay, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So that brings us to the end of our items for consideration. So I'll ask if there's any notice of motion this evening.
I have none.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on. Does anybody have anything they'd like to report on the community group meeting program or other items of community concern? Anybody have anything this evening? Lisa?
The only thing that I have to report on is the Arthur Chamber of Commerce had a meeting last week. This week coming up, I do have meetings with Mount Forest Chamber, Arthur BIA, and I believe the Cultural Roundtable. We have this meeting as well. So the Arthur Chamber, I just wanted to let you know, make everyone aware again. I believe that Dale sent an email around about the AGM awards. So if you have any suggestions for that, please click on the link and nominate someone. The traditional AGM dinner is not going to be happening. You probably already figured that out, but I just wanted to make you aware of that. And at the last meeting, of course, there was a lot of talk about the Shop Local celebration and how much the businesses appreciated that.
Okay. Thanks, Lisa. Anybody else have anything they'd like to report tonight? Okay, not seeing anything, so I guess we'll move on to bylaws. So a recommendation here, moved by Dan, seconded by Lisa, that bylaw number 73-20, 74-20, 75-20, and 76-20 be read a first, second, and third time and enacted. Any questions or comments on any of those? All those in favor then? That's carried. Thank you. And that brings us to our confirming bylaw. Moved by Sherry, seconded by Steve. The bylaw number 77-20 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wellington North at its regular meeting held on September 14th, 2020 be read a first, second, and third time and enacted. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And that brings us to adjournment. Before we get to that, though, I'll just draw your attention to upcoming meeting notices. As Lisa already alluded to, Mount Forest District Chamber of Commerce Directors meeting is tomorrow at 7 p.m. Arthur BIA, Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Cultural Roundtable on the 24th at 12 p.m. Wellington North Farmers Market again is coming up to its final day on September 26th, and that of course runs 8:30 to noon as usual. And our next regular council meeting is September 28th, with the Recreation, Parks and Leisure Committee meeting coming up on October 6th. Steve?
Sorry, you just jarred my memory a little bit. I would like to say that on the Thursday, the 25th, the Lions are going to do a barbecue pickup again in support of their BMX project. Hopefully this is for a fundraiser for them, so it'll be nice to have them fundraising again, and it's actually going to be not at the St. John's Parish Hall, it's going to be at the Curling Club. And I believe they're open till 7 p.m., I think, if I remember correctly.
I think that sounds right, correct, Steve. Okay. Okay, and with that said, I will move to the adjournment. So moved by Lisa, seconded by Dan, that the regular council meeting of September 14th, 2020 be adjourned at 8:49 p.m. All those in favor? Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a great rest of your evening.